Welcome. This is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. I'm one of your hosts, Ace Harris, here with the coolest, the best radio personality in the business.
So funny.
And Christian hip hop. Give it up for the one and only Meah Evans, y'all.
Listen, shout out to Ace, because I've just been listening to Lecrae a lot. And I just hear your creative, artistic production DNA just like all throughout that, man. And I love the A&R. Make sure y'all follow Ace on Instagram, because I love seeing the A&R corners. Because you always think of like, how did this song come about? Like, where did you start? Where did you build off of? Like certain things like that. And I love seeing you break down how things are being made. Like this shit, I don't know. It really fascinates me.
Man, I'm very humble. Appreciate that. I the heart behind it really was, I think I said this on one of my posts about how when I was a kid coming up trying to be a producer, I wanted to be the biggest producer in the world. That was my flesh. That was my heart. But I used to see videos of some of my favorite guys, Timbaland, Ryan Leslie, Kanye, even Pharrell making beats. And it's just like, whoa. Yeah. This was back then. We didn't have access to stuff. Now it's like, seems like everybody's on IG Live making beats.
Making something, yeah.
So, but back then it's inspired me. So I was hoping that for the other people that want to pursue music or have an idea of faith and culture and music, they can see a little behind the scenes, and hopefully even people who not necessarily making music just see how things are made and be inspired to make something themselves. So that was kind of the heart behind it.
Yeah, man. We have a real packed episode.
We got a packed
It's going to be so thoughtful too.
Very, very much so. I mean, I feel like I said this so many times on this show, how I think Christian music, and to be more specific, Christian hip hop is having a renaissance moment. I mean, what do you think about that?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartely. It's so evident.
Yeah.
And I think the beautiful part of it is the fact that we can just be unapologetically ourselves and not be able to dim any parts of us. It's like people, and the fact that even people are receiving it so well, being able to see these big platforms, it's refreshing and exciting in the best way.
How does it feel, someone who's been covering the space, like you've been covering it before it was as big as it is now? Like you were day one advocate for real, probably even more than me. I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like Biz always comes for my CHH card. Like, yo, Ace, you don't know the catalog, and go back. I'm like, man, I feel like I was in, but I think I tapped in around Rehab era a little bit, and then I kind of got really tapped in around Anomaly era is what I really soaked in. But talk about how does it feel to be someone who's covered it for so long, seeing the wave that it's on right now.
It's really beautiful, man. It's because we've hoped for things like this, you know what I'm saying? And everyone was talking here at Reach just a couple minutes before we recorded, and it's just great. It's even talking about the places that we've always wanted to go. You know what I'm saying? And knowing that Lecrae was saying this off air of just how it's crazy just knowing how like God can just put his hands on things just from like behind the scenes, where it's like just, I don't know, just the way how he's able to just really move us into a certain part of mainstream music and even media and things like that, and us being able to get the recognition, but not for ourselves, you know what I'm saying? And then also, like, I go back to people just receiving it. People just receiving it so well. You know, people, you usually think people would be like, those would be the episodes or interviews or the clips that would get the lesser views, but like, no, people are really tapped in. I saw a video, I think Childlike Cece, shout out to her, she was on the radar, and someone was like, I'm not even a Christian, but she got soul in her. I don't like, who is this girl? So it's like, it's great to see, you know, people are tapped in and no telling what it could lead to. You know, what about you? Because I mean, with you being behind the scenes with like music, you've have relationships with a lot of artists, not even just with here at Reach, but just people in general. Like, you just genuinely root for the space. You know what I'm saying?
I think obviously I feel like you should if you're gonna work here, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I think I genuinely I've become even more increasingly an advocate as my kids get older too, and as I kind of like unpack my own faith journey and kind of like censor it on what matters. And I feel like something I saw the other day online, I posted to my story. It was like, I forget the name of the late night show host, his name, but he's a Christian, but he always drops moments of faith. But he had a guest on there talking about music as a therapy. And there was this really like brilliant like psychologist that he asked him, what is the thing that produces the most dopamine or good opioids in your brain? Not like bad opioids, not like a substance abuse. And the psychologist was like, we need to think and reconsider how powerful music is to the brain. Music releases a like a massive amount of endorphins and dopamine.
I believe
when
it.
you hear really good music that connects with you, this obviously we could talk about the spiritual layers, biblically and all that, but even just from a practical scientific level, music has healing properties.
I believe that.
You know what I'm saying?
Because there are some songs and albums that I've heard 1,000 times, but just I love hearing it because of how it makes me feel. You know what I'm saying? Or like the reaction I have to it. You ever listen to a song and you're like, man, I wish I could go back to the feeling I had when I first heard this. You know what I'm saying? Because like just what it releases, I believe that wholeheartedly.
And I just
that's fire.
Hearing that makes me even more passionate about what we do, because I'm like, yo, this is not just entertainment. Yes, it's entertaining. Yes, this is a business. Yes, artists, we want artists to make money and all that, provide for their families. But in addition, this is an opportunity to heal the world and help them see something greater than ourselves, which is the Lord Jesus Christ in heaven, who gave us this gift of music to bring us together and to glorify him. So talk about why I'm an advocate now, Meah. I'm like, yo, if I can play any small part in helping that be the truth for people and culture, oh yeah, sign me up. I'm down. I'm game. Let's run it. You know what I mean?
It's so exciting, man.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
It was even, speaking of exciting, we kind of get to like the talking point today. You know, let's just say some of the artists call me uncle. You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, yo, I'm not that.
Unc is kind of crazy. I feel like Unc is not fitting.
I appreciate
I don't like
it.
Unc.
I mean, I'll take it. I feel like the word "unk" is definitely used to call somebody old and kind of out of touch.
No, for real. Like, no.
If I'm tapped in a little bit as like an uncle who ain't so like out of date.
Ace is big bro. If anything.
Oh, come on, that's what I'm talking about.
If anything.
I mean,
like,
look,
what?
I consider you like little sis.
Yes,
so like,
yes.
okay, big bro, little sis.
Anytime I talk about you, I'm like, yo, Ace is my bro. Like, that's big bro right there.
I get uncle from those who are actually older.
They
than
must
too.
be babies.
Maybe they immature.
Maybe I'm about to say yeah.
But the Christian hip hop industry is having a renaissance, and specifically right now, it's 2024, and Christian hip hop is having a unique impact in mainstream culture. And I think Christian hip hop and mainstream culture has always been a tense dynamic. Over the years, where on one end you had artists who are Christian wanting or seeking validation from mainstream artists, outlets, which wanting it for whatever, and the justification has been, yo, we want to make sure the gospel is like penetrating culture, so we need to have our music in these spaces so that the good news of and the message in our music can permeate culture, which I think is. However, with that comes I feel like in every good idea there's sin in there. Ain't no and every good idea, the human heart is just like, but you get some. So anyway, and I think right now, and then on the other side, there's like, oh, mainstream hip hop, mainstream culture is like demonic. It's Satan's arena. We need to separate and stay apart. We need not touch these things because we don't want to dilute our message. And I think, interestingly enough, whether people wanting the affirmation, whether people pushing back on even engaging those spaces, what we're seeing now is Christian content, music, media infiltrating mainstream media. And talk about how that's happening.
And I think that goes back to the saying of just how God's hand is in everything, because you really don't understand how these things are able to take place. It's really fascinating to see the impact, not even just with music, but even just like I've seen even like fashion when it comes like I know Christ, like Miles Minnick's brand. I saw Chris Brown was wearing one of his hats, and like that's such a huge deal, and being able to see that some people may not even be aware of who the artist is, the mission of, Jesus and things like that. But the exposure of it all, of the fact of what it could lead to. I remember one time a friend of mine who isn't necessarily doesn't identify as a believer. She's just always been like, teeter-tottering. And she would send me Limo Blaze. And I would be like, because she's Caribbean. And I would be like, she's like, how did you find, this artist? She's like, oh no, I was just, I'll cross on social media. I figured that you maybe have heard of this person. I was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I was like, let me send you some more, So
for sure.
It's like, you just never know just what it leads to. I think that's what the most beautiful thing about that is.
I'm curious what song? I'm just curious.
Man.
Was it probably Gyro or probably a Desire or something? But
that song with Anatoria.
Oh yeah, that's Put It On God.
Yes.
And that song, the thing about that song is like, it's not covert Christian.
Oh yeah.
It's like an unashamedly very explicit, like, I put it on God. Like it's literally preaching the gospel and how we should rely on God. That's really cool. I think that's how did you feel when she tapped you and said, hey, I found this thing, and you know that she's processing her faith and she finds this music that comes from the space that we operate in. How did you feel to have her like send that to you and say how she's rocking with it?
I felt really, it was like a proud moment of just like where the space has gone. You know what I'm saying? I'm always the type of person where like I never shy away from what not never. I've now come to a space within like probably like the last like, I guess like 5 years where I don't shy away from what I listen to. You know what I'm saying? So you in the car with me, yeah, you're going to hear what I usually listen to. And that's, Indie Tribe and Nikkei, people like that, Aaron Cole, people like that. And, I love genuinely putting people on. But the fact that I didn't put you on, but you just found that on your own accord is like, oh, wow. We really moving out here. You know, it's weird how I feel so, like as if I say we moving, as if like, I know, I'm not hitting the mic or nothing like that. I'm not giving it 16, nothing like that. But the fact that I feel a part of this space just because I've been involved in it for so long. So the fact like, wow, we're really making strides. We're really reaching people. And the impact is evident. You know what I'm saying?
That's so good. So what do you think it was in that music that is cutting through to that person that is like processing faith, or not necessarily in Christian circles or Christian culture? What is it about specifically that song, or just the music in general, that you think is like resonating?
What do I think that's resonating? I just think music has a beautiful way of being able to provoke thought, reach the heart,
talk about it,
pull out feelings, making you just making you think, and with the specific friend who always teeter-totters. So with this friend, she always asks me about, okay, well, astrology is this. So what do you think about it? Like, like as a Christian, like where do you stand on that? Like she'll always ask me like, because I know you believe this, where do you stand? And it just always just seems like this back and forth. And knowing that she heard a song that, I don't know, could provoke her, the Christianity that she grew up on, you know what I'm saying? Because she's had a way of just, I guess, walking away from it, or just like, trying to create her own ideology. But knowing that you can hear something where it's not necessarily heard by your church choir, or necessarily you hear on a Sunday morning, but it's something that I know she listens to music like that because with me being around her. So knowing that it grasped her, but then even also the fact that her thinking about it and you singing it and you're thinking, put it on God. Like, what does that look like? How, like, I don't know. It's something about just the thought provoking, or the thought of thinking more on what the lyrics say and how that can maybe be applied to her, or maybe even how it's presented. I
think presentation is so, you're really, I can't even keep myself still, but I'm like, that music, even other music, the artistic quality of it, and a lot of other Christian hip hop or Christian music in general that we're talking about, that we're going to talk about in a segment, it's fashioned in a way that is like mindful of where culture is sonically. So it sometimes I think the wrestle for some people is like they're associating things from Christianity, things from church with like, this my mama and them religion. Yeah, this ain't for me.
Yes. So
I can't. I mean, it's good. I appreciate it, but that just don't. This takes you to a place where my faith wasn't even fortified, or if it was, it's deconstructed. So, but I think music and art and culture and fashion, these things, which sometimes Christian people try to like demonize these things, like, nah, like you can redeem those things of culture, impart godly content, lyrics, music, production into it, and it can speak to someone who may not even be in the fold. And if the music is pulling them in, that's God's job. That's not the artist's job. We don't save people, right? Limo doesn't save people. Meah doesn't save people. Ace, we don't save. But if the music that God allows us to create, if these conversations can at least plant a seed of faith in someone's heart to be like, huh. And that's even what's had to happen with this, which we want to get into in the next segment. Kendrick's mentioning of Lecrae's response, which I think we could talk about that for hours, but it's like just to mention the name of God in a way, in a format that's not so associated with what you associate with Christianity culturally, helps people who are not tapped in, not in church, not believing these things, be like, oh, so hold up, I thought, oh, dang, that's dang, so it's like Jesus speaks through all these mediums, and we need to give space for that to happen. And we're seeing that happen real time in mainstream culture. So we better be right back, y'all. This is the 116 Life Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 140. I'm your host, Ace Harris, here with Meah Evans, and we'll be right back, y'all. Welcome back, y'all. This is the 116 Life Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. I'm here with the amazing Meah Evans, and we were having a good conversation on the break about like Christian hip hop's evolution and into mainstream from when it started to now, and from early on to now where it could go. And you were saying something that really struck a nerve, and I was thinking, I feel like, and we're gonna get to the Kendrick Lecrae moment in just a second, but we have to like walk people through there. Early Christian hip hop was extremely explicitly, content-wise, bold. Some at the time considered it a little dogmatic and preachy and not necessarily appealing to people who are already in the fold. I'm not here to debate that. I just feel like that was the early accusations, right?
Right.
And then a shift happened throughout the years as Christian hip hop started to grow, and there was this like desire or missional desire to reach the unchurched, and with that somehow influenced the art that was being made.
Yes.
And so content, and I don't have the exact dates, but I feel like around 2014 to 2018, maybe content seemed to be more implicit.
Yes.
Would you say that? We said the same thing?
I agree. Yeah.
I remember I was working in a lot of studios in the mainstream space, and I was like kind of advocating that, championing that, and being okay with that, right? I remember I had a conversation with a brother by the name Kevin Burgess, KB. When I first started at Reach, I went to see him and Tripley on their tour. And after the tour, me and KB had already had a bit of a relationship already, but I was new to the label and I wanted to kind of build with those guys. And after the show, went to their hotel room. We were just talking about Christian culture, hip hop, and I made some comments I probably regret making. But it was how my mind was working at the time. I believe that we got this message of the gospel, talented artists, and this needs to be permeated through culture. But the way to impact culture is to give space for Christians who express themselves implicitly and more tame, to give those voices a platform, because I believe that maybe the two explicit, raw, unfiltered expressions wasn't going to infiltrate the way we wanted to. So the goal was infiltrate with Christians and godliness, but the method was with like a more implicit, testimonial, experiential expression, not a very dare I say sermon-esque, theologically expressed preaching style. So I remember me and KB wrestled a little bit, and he was like, yo, what you like? And in hindsight, I have grown tremendously. And I've done a 180, and I definitely have figured out how the explicit, like it doesn't really matter what people saying, or doesn't matter if it sounds good and people believe that what you believe is true. You know what I'm saying? Do people believe that what you believe is true, whether they agree with it or not? Can I hear that whatever you're expressing? Are you trying to like tone down your faith to be more accessible to me? Are you trying to water down because you're scared of my judgment? Because in the world, no folks don't be caring.
They don't. Don't.
So talk about that and talk about how you feel about where the content is now and how it's having cutting through and the style that's cutting through right now.
So I wanted to be mindful saying this, but there's truly been a shift of how the music's been. It just feels bolder. It sounds a lot bolder. Not saying that it wasn't that, but like you looking back, you see that it was a lot of metaphor. And like honestly, I think what it was that a lot of the music is CHH came off for people who were Christians, meaning like you would hear a reference of like a verse or like things like that, like, you know, of course, creatively displayed through a song, and really a Christian would recognize that. You know what I'm saying? If you was in your word, you know, like you was really knew God, you could recognize that, which was great. But I feel like now it's, and not say that this was intentional, now it's more like you were saying, explicit and bolder, and like where you got Hovey having a song called Holy Spirit, you know what I'm saying? And then even having someone like John Keith on the radar saying, I rebuke a pig in the name of Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, but it's something about that though that is like refreshing.
Yeah.
And it really feels like standing on business kind of, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like us not the world in mainstream has normalized, and we can even talk about this going into Kendrick's.
Yes.
Has normalized living a certain way and talking a certain way and doing certain things, has made that normal when it's not.
Right.
And it's like, but they're very outspoken about it. And it's kind of like the same way how it really feels like it's amplified over the years, which we're not surprised by it. It seems as if the same way how mainstream has amplified, I hate to sound deep, but darkness, we've amplified in the same sense. Cause that's the only way how we're going to be able to like match it and fight it. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, people need Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So even being able to explicitly say that, you never know of who that can captivate, because we already know that name already captivates so much within people. Yeah. So hearing that within a song, and then even hearing that in a good song, you know what I'm saying? In a song that's already captivating you in one way, then you hear Jesus. I think over time it's a way gotten better, bolder, and it's refreshing.
It is refreshing, and I feel like. First of all, that was amazing what you said. I feel like Christian hip hop, Christian rap in like in mainstream culture has an actual relevance. People are familiar with what that means. Where I feel like 10 years ago, that association was side-eyed so much. It wasn't respected. Now I think it's actually, people are, shout out to people like Chance the Rapper. Shout out Lecrae. Shout out people who have like, I think mainstream culture is like aware that there's actually like a remnant of artists who are hip hop and they're authentically Christian and they rap. Yeah. And so they're like, oh, okay, yeah, he's a Christian rapper. It didn't have the same cheesy ring it had 15 years ago. Yeah. It had a little like side eye on it. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like, oh, I think that just comes with time. Yes. And so what we're seeing now is that is being more and more prevalent. So I think it almost gives artists who want to express themselves explicitly more freedom to do that without feeling like they have to sacrifice their content to reach culture. Now, for those who express themselves more implicitly, artistically, this is no knock nor no shade. I say permission to do what you feel like God is leading you to do, as long as it's biblically grounded, but be authentic to that. So if you're an implicit expresser of music, don't try to pipe up because you think it's cool and like popping now to mention Jesus frequently. Yeah. If that's not how you naturally communicate, don't do that either. On the flip side, don't try to tone it down on these mainstream platforms because you feel like I want to make sure people are comfortable about Jesus. Guess what? Jesus, the name of Jesus, the conviction of Jesus, it's going to make people uncomfortable. It disrupts. It cuts through sharper than a double-edged sword, separating soul as far as soul and spirit. I just read that in Hebrews this morning, but I'm fumbling. But yeah, so I do want to talk about. I think that's why the Kendrick mention of Lecrae stood out.
Where were you when you heard, like, were you tagged in that? Like, how did you hear even about?
I was in the studio with Lecrae that day, actually. We had a very rare evening session. So we literally left the studio at the same time. And like I had to miss dinner with the wife. I had like, it was normally, we had a very important session with the songwriter that was really dope. And so I'm in my car and I get, as I'm walking to my car, I see notifications like Hovey's blowing up the artist chat. Yo, Kendrick just mentioned Lecrae. I'm like, whatever. So I get in my car and then I pull over to check it out. I'm like, yo, that's pretty cool. So anyway, we talk it out and we kind of, the whole buildings, everybody's talking in, chiming in what to do, what does this feel? And I think, shout out to KB. I think, and obviously D1 who was name dropped as well with Lecrae, but KB's perspective, I resonate with what he said. Same. People were excited. Everybody's like, yo, this is our moment. And it's exciting. I'm not gonna, one of the biggest rappers in the world, one of the biggest artists in the world, at the height of arguably the apex of his career, just announced to be performing at the Super Bowl. Yeah. Name drops one of the biggest Christian hip hop artists of all time and makes people want to know more. And so I think it was a moment to pay attention to. But I think about why, I don't know Kendrick, but what was it about Lecrae that it prompted him to ask that question? And it wasn't like, he's asking about his character. And that's what I want to like stamp on. Like, the music is having a renaissance. We out here. There's so much talent out here. I didn't have this when I was a kid. But what's going to separate what we do from the world is not necessarily being the dopest artistically, musically. Yes, that's the standard for impact and influence. What's going to separate and cut through Meah is the fruit that we bear.
Yeah.
Let your Matt 5:16, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven.
Yeah.
That's literally why I want Christian hip hop to be to infiltrate these spaces. Not to say so they can say we dope. Come on, man. That's like that's it.
And
you know what I mean?
And honestly, even hearing the Kendrick song "Watch the Party Die," hearing the mention, Lecrae's mention, I was like, oh, this is fire. Like, that's cool. Then, of course, shout out to K, because that was what really made me think even deeper on it of why this is a bigger deal, not in the sense that the world, like everyone else seeing it as. It's because how that's kind of a question that we want those who are around us to really ask us. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have influence with artists and people in the industry, your sons, friends who, go through things in life, and you have a hand in their life. I have access to middle school girls every single week where I'm trying to guide them away from living a certain way. I want them to ask, what would Meah do? I want them to ask what Ace would do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like thinking of the fact that, yes, the biggest artist in the world right now is mentioned Lecrae. Yeah, that's fire. But how fire is it? Is the fact that the things that we don't see in the dark, in the back, you know what I'm saying? Like, the mention, like he easily could have said, like, I wonder what Lecrae will rap about. You know what I'm saying? Like, what he will put in his next album, because he's an artist. But no, knowing the fact that however their relationship is, but knowing to think of how a person can handle themselves in situations of being an artist, a father, you know what I'm saying? Things like that.
Talk about it.
Thinking about those things are the things that carry weight.
It does.
It's not about, it wasn't, to me, in looking at it overall, I realized that it wasn't about music. It wasn't about that. It's about, like, man, think of making an impact in someone's life where they think, oh, I wonder what this person would do. Really thinking of, like, what's the best godly way for me to go about a situation? Because you've exemplified godly character. You know what I'm saying? To impact a person. I think that's just, that really speaks volumes in the way just how we should not just display art and speak on Jesus, but live. You know what I'm saying?
Dang, Meah, you snapping. I feel like, and make no mistake, does music have to be artfully and tastefully done? Absolutely, 100,000% yes. I am not saying, yo, just rap for Jesus, man, and let it be dope and live a good character, but don't put so much energy in the music. Yeah, we're saying take the craft serious, because God cares about excellence, and God's gifted some of us with, and that should always be a standard of excellence. But don't idolize the arts.
Yeah.
Like, the art is a conduit to express God's glory, not the other way. It's not a conduit to gain our glory. It's a conduit to express God's glory. So make the art as good as you can, because God cares about that. Make it dope. Rewrite them lyrics. Make that beat edit. Be good at your craft. But when the spotlight's on, when the culture is looking at you and your song makes it through mainstream, which has happened so much in our space lately, what is the question that people would ask about you, and what is the nugget they will take away from your music? Because if it's just about you being dope, and if you're in those spaces and invited to those spaces, and that all we can glean from and all we can kind of camp out in is like, oh man, yeah, they think I'm dope, man, this is hard. I mean,
that's very short-lived.
Come on.
Very short-lived.
Yes, it got to be there to get it there. But if the music, again, should be expressions of God's glory, and how you do that, I don't think we need to put parameters. I'm just saying, like, let your light so shine before men, so that when they see your good work's got to be good.
Yeah.
Okay. What would Lecrae do? What would Meah do? Oh, this song is dope. What would Andy do? Oh, snap. Dang. And then this is what the genius of Lecrae's reply. He didn't take it on himself. He's like, we got to point upwards. And I think that's the takeaway for the Christian hip hop industry, having so many mainstream touch points, is great that we're intersecting and impacting, and how we steward that should point people to something bigger. And that's what I think Lecrae did on that verse, which is fire. We'll be right back, y'all. This is the 116 Life, Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 140. More to come as we talk about some upcoming moments and past moments in Christian hip hop that have, like, sliced through culture. Really cool stuff, y'all. Appreciate y'all for rocking.
And we're back here on the 116 Live here on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. Ace Harris, Meah Evans checking in. We're reminiscing on the impact that Christian culture, CHH, has been pushing through with mainstream. And there were a couple of moments we were talking about off air about Christian hip hop making headway into mainstream. And bro, the good thing is that there's been a lot. And which is a really great thing.
Yeah.
Even I think even shout out to everyone who's been able to be on the radar. That's fire. Even everyone who's been able to be on Sway in the Morning with Miles Minnick, John Keith,
Miles.
Aaron Cole. Like that's really huge within itself. Some of my favorite things is Blessed Up being on Michelle Obama's playlist. Blessed Up by Nike. Parabolic by No Big Deal being on. I'm just thinking like, I really want to see President Obama or former President Obama vibe out to Parabolic. It's just something about that that's just like, how did I want to know, how did you find that song?
Right.
You know, like when do you listen to it? What do you like about it? Even things that aren't necessarily music specifically, but the fact that just them referring back to, I guess, just the Christian culture. Shout out to KB with HGA.
Yeah.
And this year at the Grammys, John Bellion went to HGA to help make his suit, which I think is so fire. Because like, you know, KB's is like, you know, really big on even like style, like we know even like with the merch, Native Supply and things like that. And having a suit made for John Bellion that says no idols will be worshipped here.
At the Grammys.
Like at the
height of like the music industry capital.
Like that's
one of the biggest music stations in the world.
Going to a Christian company to want to be able to push forth a message. You know what I'm saying? That I think it's because fashion speaks. Fashion speaks.
Bro, that's a bar. It really does.
You know what I'm saying? So even being able to represent that and get something passed to people in fashion is even huge, you know?
Yeah.
So thinking of things like that. What about you? What are some moments?
I think one of the early moments was, this is like taking it back a few years, was Lecrae's BT Cypher.
Bro.
I think that moment definitely changed the landscape of mainstream culture being more open to Christian hip hop artists being dope. I think that the stigma that was there before was, it's like either it's too preachy or it's lame and it's not for us. But I think that moment intersected culture where people were like, oh, that did a lot for opening and awakening people's eyes to be able to see the dopeness that already exists, that we already know was there. So that moment definitely stood out for me. A couple others, man, there's so many. I mean, we can even talk about Coming in Hot.
That was had a great run.
That's like a very like lighthearted kind of implicit song. It's just I mean, some would say it's not Christian hip hop, man. Look, it's Christians that made hip hop. Yeah. But I mean, that moment was like, I mean, Will Smith posted it.
Kim Kardashian, and then LeBron James.
Yes, yeah. And obviously Steph Curry, who's a fan. So it was just it was a lot of moments of just like, just that was really cool. I mean, what would your takeaways when you saw some of that happening, like with Coming in Hot?
What was my takeaway?
Were you like, oh, this is a wave, or you were like?
I think every time I saw it somewhere else, I guess like I got more and more shocked.
Yeah.
You know, I think I was at a Braves game. Yeah. And they played it at the Braves game. And like it's like every moment was just like it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And like it was we thought it was just one celebrity, then another celebrity, then this other company used it, and then this company used it. And it was just it was beautiful seeing my
favorite bar on that song. Even Trump gotta take a knee when the horn blows. Y'all gonna see.
And they playing that one everywhere.
They're gonna be mad at us. It was like, hey, everybody, basically, translation, everybody gonna bow.
Yeah,
basically.
everybody.
So everybody jamming to that song. Some people were dancing to it the way I wouldn't dance at church. You know, some of y'all was, hey, every knee's gonna bow. So a couple other moments I want to talk about. Caleb Gordon had a moment with Rocky Road too. It was, I mean, that moment, man. Remember, I think this is 2023, 2022. I forget what year, but like I remember like Patrick Mahomes, like NFL quarterback superstar.
Shout out to TikTok.
Yo, crazy.
Because the heights that TikTok has been able to even push forth certain artists like Caleb Gordon, Mike Teasy, and a couple of others, man. It's been like that. I was seeing that joint everywhere.
It was. And it's like that is like, if you were to say what is a Christian rap song, that is like bar for bar a great, like, dude, this is Christian rap.
Yeah.
Like excellent. It's rap. It's not like super melodic, but it's like in there. And then like I feel like sonically and lyrically, I put that song up next to any like rap mainstream song with no question. And I also want to say this. Sometimes people try to like, I know we can go on a rabbit trail of like, man, it's mainstream looks, validation. Christian rap artists are better than mainstream artists. And I think there's like humor in that, Meah. I just want to caution us though a little bit and say that's not necessarily a fight that we have to fight. Like the whole we're better than them, because them ain't checking. Them don't care about that.
What do you mean by fight?
Sometimes there's like this, like the point of views. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this, but like there's like this aura or need to tell the world that Christian hip hop is better than your favorite ex-mainstream rapper, or this thing is better than. And it's very comparative. I know I just said that I would pit up Caleb Gordon's song, but what I mean is, let's not be so caught up in the care of mainstream culture where we're trying to compete.
Yeah.
Let's just exist. And if God breathes on it and it's dope, it'll get to the people it needs to. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to like raise up a fight and like put up posts like, yo, this is better than Drake, or it's like, it's not that deep to me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what are your thoughts about that? You disagree?
I think no. I agree. I think, I hope we're not lacking a confidence in what is being created in our space for the past 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Because it's grown, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just never been a big fan of proving myself.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I just always just feel like it will speak, and who rocks with it rocks with it. And the great thing is that God's hands is on it, so it's going to go farther than what we think. But I'm just not big on trying to impress people, because sometimes people will just speak against it because it is Christian. You know what I'm saying? So I pray that we get less and less, pushy on trying to weigh it out, and just be let it stand for what it is, and stand 10 toes down, knowing that what we got is good.
Nah, he couldn't have said that any better. I think that needs to be said, because of what we're seeing, looking at this list, is like, clearly it's impacting outside of the four walls, outside of our space.
Yeah.
This is not just a Holy Culture, Rapzilla, Proper Excel, CHH Talk conversation. This is now we on Breakfast Club.
Bro, I was listening to that on the way over here.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Now it's on, and now it's on other. It's not. So it is doing it's speaking itself, and God's breathing on it. So speaking of other examples, I got to talk about this one. This is pretty crazy. I feel like Letitia Wright, shout out her, was tapped in. I mean, you had mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, Letitia Wright being at the very first Holy Smoke.
Oh yeah, I was there. That's crazy.
And then, because I remember where you were standing, Ace, because you were like not far behind her. But which is funny is the fact that she had I think she had a baseball cap on, and I didn't realize until I'm looking over. I'm like, that's Letitia Wright. You know what I'm saying? But like, even thinking of how did she even get tapped in? That was a big moment. Yeah,
I think she's obviously a fan, and it just and people in these spaces that are like advocating what we do. Even like I forget, it happened recently on the there's a morning show, Al Roker, is that NBC? So I forget the guy, Craig, I think the black dude, the main host, I think his name is, I'm butchering his name, but he had Lecrae do a segment on like the history of Reach and his 20 years.
Yeah.
And then in between the segment, as they're talking about it, he was on the live, literally on the live, sharing with the co-host. They're like, yeah, and Christian hip hop's having a wave. I mean, shout out to No Big Deal, shout out to Hovey. And this is like literally, this is the epitome of mainstream media. Broadcasted to millions on live television. This co-host is being a fan and saying, y'all need to go check out these
people out.
So that's pretty cool. I think the work, you know what I'm saying? We ain't gotta always get on TikTok and prove ourselves. If it's dope, it's gonna, and God breathes on it.
Reach.
Another moment that I want to speak to. Shout out Trip Lee. For those, by the time this dropped, this is probably gonna be even more popping. Trip Lee is having like a random viral moment with his song "Lay Down." It has impacted the TikTok anime communities.
I think that's so crazy.
It's like wild. Like when I say anime, you talking about, this is like, is there a market younger than Gen Z?
What, Gen Alpha?
Man, well, whoever they are. Gen Alpha, young Gen Z, Gen ZY, whoever they out here, like Lecrae's son, who's like in like middle school is like, yo, his group chats, they're like talking about this Trip Lee song that was released last year, Laid Down, produced by Michelle. Like the intro part is resonating with those gamers in the community, and they're doing like anime memes off of this song to the point where it's like, and then they're also discovering Trip Lee and learning about his music, which is kind of cool because Trip Lee is like, I would say one of the like day one in terms of Christian hip hop. Yeah, I'm trying to call him what I think he.
But day one, for sure.
I think day one's an appropriate term, and so like, isn't that crazy? Like, again, the internet just found this song,
and I think that speaks to a lot of things. Yeah. Just for the fact of, you know, you have some artists who want that viral moment right away.
Oh yeah.
As soon as you drop the song, it's gotta go crazy. It's gotta go viral. It's gotta, you know what I'm saying? It has to have that viral moment right away. Yeah. But sometimes it takes. You said the song came out a year ago, right?
Yeah, the song came out literally a year ago.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like
year plus.
You sometimes you have to give some songs. It comes over time,
right?
And even also sometimes people think that it has to have a big sync moment and be in the movie or be used on ESPN, and there's nothing wrong with those things, but like there are niches for like who would have thought anime, like, you know, like who would have thought even like Gen Alpha, who, like you were saying, whoever tapping in, you know, like it will reach to whoever it needs to, but just a matter of just patience in that, you know what I'm saying? It will reach, just basically. I think that's beautiful that this moment is happening. And it feels so random, but the fact that it's making the impact it is, I think it's really fire.
It's really cool. It's kind of like I think God breathes on what we're doing in a way that we can't take credit for.
Yeah.
And we can't call, we can't predict, and honestly, humbly, I'll say this, we can't always replicate. Because once you just accept that and you realize that what we do is the Spirit of God working through us, not us ourselves. So, I mean, I'm just excited to see like the many ways that God is using Christian hip hop to impact culture in ways we couldn't even imagine, and also us having healthy dialogue to ground ourselves, not seek that validation as a way of like where we're getting identity from, but just continue to make dope art, continue to push, continue to share with your friends, tap in, and watch how God's going to use this art form to literally impact culture. Not something you say in a room full of people to sound cool. Like, hey, you're going to impact culture. It's like, nah, like back to the Die for the Party song from Lecrae. Like, nah, this is like, even like what's the guy, one of the biggest YouTubers on No Life Shaq, just like who comments on all of like the recent drops in hip hop, just dropped an amazing video basically bigging up that song, Lecrae's verse, and it's cutting through. So God is, and will use the things that we make to impact culture at his appointed time, and in a way where we can't take credit for, we can't replicate. We just got to steward the things in front of us. But I think what we're doing is we're celebrating those moments. Like, y'all, keep going, be dope, don't compare, keep grinding, keep killing it.
We're making headway. Headway's being made.
Man, my heart is full. What a
fulfilling episode.
Yeah, that's really good. You got anything else, Meah?
Man, I think moments of us celebrate. I'm happy we're able to pull out these big moments, because, you know, sometimes you can get weary and thinking that you're really not, the music's not going anywhere. And I'm really happy that we were able to shine a light on all the accomplishments and the headways that have been made, because that's what can keep us going, and we won't be able to get weary. But we can also be able to push forth what's happening, what's going on, and we won't be caught by surprise for when the next big thing or the next things happen. You know,
this is what we're expecting to see. Hopefully changing the way people see the world. And
exactly.
And literally being unashamed about what God has given us, and that's what we hopefully can lead people. So this is the 116 Life, Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. Great conversation today, Meah. We'll see y'all next time. Later.